Hello, everyone. This is Andy coming to you from an increasingly dull and wet December in the United Kingdom.
And this is Scott. I guess we're neighbors now because it's pretty much the same here in Toronto.
This is the T and Timbits podcast, Global Perspectives on Business Development to help you prosper. And this week we are continuing our theme on tools, and we're going to be focusing on tools for teams. But before we get into that, Scott, do you have a story for us?
Well, it's more of just like a fun little update. Andy, do you know what vibe coding is?
I do not. Tell me.
So in the world of AI, vibe coding is when you create software by just putting in an AI prompt, and then the AI creates the software for you. So the I can't remember which tech CEO, I think it was, I don't know, Jack Dorsey or something like that, said the next programming language that everybody's going to have to learn is English. And so I had been avoiding exploring this one because you don't actually want to read the code necessarily, and if you did actually use this software in a legitimate way, you would have to do the proper kind of code review and security audit and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure it's probably better code than humans write these days, but you can't just take it and be like, oh my god, that's amazing, now deploy it. So it's a new concept. And there's new platforms that are out that are allowing you to do this. So the one that I used this last week was called Replit. It's a pretty popular one, Replit. So if you want to go and explore the world of vibe coding, go to Replit. And there's literally just a prompt there, and it goes, what do you want to build? And you describe the tool, the software, whatever, and it will build it for you. It'll build websites, it'll build apps, it'll build mobile apps, whatnot. So I'm going to facilitate a workshop on AI today. We're talking about sort of how to use AI to unlock the value of the data that's in your CRM, and then streamline and accelerate your capability of deploying a digital marketing campaign. And so I've actually given a workshop similar to this before, and I've kind of talked through it and shown some examples, and then we kind of get a working brainstorm going. But I was like, nope, I'm going to get this tool going, and everybody can use AI in the workshop to do the thing. And I've tried this before, and it fails because everybody's got a different LLM, and some have the paid version, some don't, and they're not. So I built, using vibe coding and Replit, a little 4-step wizard that walks you through business, and then it shows you the prompt, and you click next, and then it generates the persona, and then you click next, and then it generates the customer insights, and you click next, and then it creates the landing page, the LinkedIn ad, and there was something else and a Google, a LinkedIn post and a Google ad, and it's not fully polished, but then it shows you the transparency along the way of like, what's it doing, what's the result, what's it doing, what's the result, and then you can download everything at the end, and you can go and try it on your own in your own LLM in a much more. So anyway, I'll report back and let you know how the workshop goes. But
how fantastic! What a great idea!
The first time in my life, and I can use it in a controlled setting like that. So I'm not going to tool available to the whole world, but in a room full of 40 participants, it's a pretty safe place. And if something goes wrong or there's an error, oh well,
exactly. It's a workshop. It doesn't matter so much, but it gives people that taster and that experience. That's really good. Well, today's episode is about tools for teams, and maybe that's a good way of creating a valuable tool for your business potentially. But when we discussed tools for teams, I think we were both thinking, okay, what are we going to talk about in this episode? And I had a brief think and had a few things come to mind, and then I realized we've already done episodes on that, so I had to think again and come up with something else. What did you have in mind, Scott, when you were thinking about this particular topic?
Well, if I think about some of the things that are good for teams, it's things that enable clarity and communication and collaboration.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Exactly
that's
that.
what I
Yeah.
was thinking. Where was your train of thought going?
Yeah, so I came at it more from a sort of sales perspective, I suppose, and I was thinking along the lines of, okay, basically every tool that we have, it has to shorten that sales cycle. Ideally, raise the win rates and improve forecast accuracy and reduce the cost of selling overall.
Yep.
That was what I was thinking, looking at it more from, I suppose, a sales team perspective as opposed to a business leadership perspective. But I think the principle there is the same, and obviously that that throws in the CRM and things that we talked about last week. But I think ultimately the key is to have less tools, have as few tools as possible, and make sure that all of the tools that you do have are serving a purpose. When we talked about CRM last week, we talked about some of the legacy tools that exist in people's businesses, and that they are comfortable using those. But are they actually adding value?
Right.
If so, great, keep them, use them, and if you can integrate it into the CRM, that's fine. I think having kind of a rule in a business that is certainly in a sales team that the CRM is the single source of truth. How the data gets in there doesn't really matter, but having a single platform where if it's in there, it counts. If it isn't, it doesn't.
So for clarity, when I said sort of tools that increase communication and clarity and whatnot, I was also in my head thinking sales team collaboration. So
okay, yeah.
I think the frame of reference there was a lot of the B2B selling that I get involved with is team selling. And it's not just one individual sort of performing on their own. And so it is extremely difficult and frustrating when you don't have the most recent version of the proposal and somebody else has got it, and then it's on their laptop, and then it's not. And so, right away, I'm like, you've got to use cloud file sharing. It's got to exist. And I said in the last episode, like, you got to, you can't shake your finger when somebody doesn't do the right thing, because that means that they've probably, well, this is one where I say you absolutely have to enforce everybody using the cloud for their document management and file sharing and collaboration. There's just no reason not to do it. If you're on the go, these tools sync automatically to your tablet or your laptop or whatever. You don't need to download a copy to your desktop to keep working. And now I'm ranting about when this doesn't work, but
no, it's totally valid. It's totally valid, because I was at a company 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, a company I worked for had a thing called a sales toolbox, and that was this single place where every piece of relevant sales documentation, collateral, or anything that the sales team would need was hosted. So if you needed anything, even training, education, whatever, it was all in the sales toolbox and then correctly marked in folders and so on. And I mentioned that was 20 years ago because since I left that company, I have never, ever, ever seen a company that actually has that in their business. And I have obviously implemented those things in there. But it's incredible to me that something that, was not fancy, it wasn't over the top, but it was just a common sense, have everything in the same place. So everybody anywhere in the business who's involved in that department can go there and they know they're going to find everything that they need.
Yeah.
It's incredible, and it has to exist. So sales toolbox, I would say, alongside the CRM, are the two most essential things. And then what you put in it is relevant for your business. What how you actually use these things is down to your individual business needs. But having those two things are just, in my opinion, essential.
Mm-hmm. So then, in terms of that's like the productivity of the collaboration is obviously critical there, and that I think is one infinitely helpful way to do it, and have a centralized shared library of those kinds of resources for sure. So now let's go down sort of your original train of thought about some of those other things that shorten the cycle, increase engagement, that kind of thing. I'm all for, how do we make sure that we are intentional about those kinds of lead nurturing, opportunity nurturing tools. I don't think the answer is necessarily like, oh, and then you need an email marketing automation platform. Although that is a particularly useful tool. Is it adding productivity? Probably. But I've just seen them also be totally useless and create noise and drive people away. So what was in your mind on that front?
In terms of specific tools or the process?
Maybe not by name, but like, what are some of the things that are in the ecosystem that help with that? Anything in particular that you've seen work well?
Yeah, I think there needs to be, not necessarily a specific tool, but certainly tools that are designed within the organization to support the management when it comes to building, designing, running, and delivering meetings and training and development and coaching, because those are essential elements, I believe, to drive the success of a sales team. And so whether that's delivered through email automation to provide, tips and advice, or whether it's delivered through just a check sheet for that particular manager, again, coming back to what I was saying before, it doesn't matter what the actual thing is, it matters what it delivers and what it does for your business and helps you to achieve. So, if your CRM is an in-house built thing and it works for your business, then good for you. If it's but just make sure that you have tools in your business that are providing value and helping to drive things forward, to support the team and support the work that everyone is doing. Having tools for efficiency, having tools for enablement, and having tools for effectiveness are the key things that you have to do in any of this, whether you're in management, in finance, or you're in sales or whatever. It's essential that the tools add something and they're not just there for administration.
Yeah, absolutely. And that you find the right way to democratize the use of the tool, so that it's not necessarily a particular gatekeeper that's the one you've got to go through if you want to get that tool leverage. So, if you have email marketing, you need to find a way that if there's a particular sales campaign or team that wants to leverage that there's clear governance around how they can avail themselves of the tool, whether they are able to access it directly, whether there's a clear set of sort of guidelines for submitting a request to turn on a nurture campaign, that kind of thing. But I've seen so many of these tools get put in place and then so much governance put in front of them that there's so much friction and it's such a roadblock to actually taking advantage of it. So like website CMS, content management is the other one where I find like such an inordinate amount of friction. And usually, it's from a place of good intention. The folks that are responsible for the brand and the voice and the identity and the aesthetic are, putting up an important filter to make sure that it gets out there properly. But if you've got the right tools in your ecosystem, that should be quite straightforward, and that should be easy to do and easy to follow. And you want to make sure that you can get your content published as quickly as possible. We work with some larger organizations to co-market some things, and I've got to write a blog post for them that goes in for and it works its way through the ether for about 3 months before it shows up published. That's just insane. In the same amount of time it took me to attach this and send it as an email for your consideration, I could have had it live and published on my own website. And I'm sure, having.
But that's a valid point. I mean, some of these tools, coming back to that, is it's essential that they remove that friction, that those delays, those things, and they enforce that right behavior. But they take away some of those delays and things like that, and keep things moving efficiently and effectively. It's so important.
So I'm gonna drop another tool category into the conversation here, because it's one that it's a category of tools that is, I think, only heard in some rooms for sort of mid to larger organizations. And more so, it's becoming more commonplace across the board. But the acronym is CDP. It's a customer data platform, and it's different than a CRM. So a CRM is there for you to manage your pipeline and your engagement. And a lot of organizations extend that for account management and doing other things. But a CDP is basically an acknowledgement that your engagement with prospects and customers is happening in an ecosystem of tools and interactions. And all the data about those interactions exists in siloed in silos. So your marketing automation has something, your event management team has attendance list, your CRM is another source, your website lead generation is probably another source, unless it's probably connected to your CRM. So a CDP is not trying to help you do anything with nurturing. It's just trying to consolidate the picture of the individual customer or prospect or named visitor in your ecosystem. So I could look you up and say, okay, I want to know everything that we know about Andy across our ecosystem. What do they subscribe to? What have they ordered? When did they visit our website? What campaigns have they engaged in? And then I can use the data in aggregate to start to find trends. And I can use it to start measuring success with different campaigns and engagement. And so there are platforms and tools that are purpose built just for this. And then they feed into all that. They feed back out. So it's kind of like they're a breathing organism. And it really strengthens the value story for you. So you're now not just trying to measure effectiveness for a specific campaign, because a lot of these sort of you need to communicate on multiple fronts. You need to market in many different ways to sort of elevate your profile and drive results. And it's hard to measure ROI unless you have something that can pull all of that and aggregate it together. So a CDP is the platform like the category name for these tools that's becoming more and more popular.
I had not heard that terminology or phrasing before, but it is something that actually our PR team use in the record label business, and I think it's delivered through Monday.com. But I think that's just because they're typically a project management basis, and there are obviously plenty more tools out there that do very similar things. But yeah, they're very interesting. I'm sure there are plenty more tools if we start thinking about it. But I think it's funny that we've now got nearly 20 minutes of content from not being too entirely sure how we were going to fill this episode.
Seems to happen, doesn't it?
We like once we get going, that's it. Then we realise there's a lot of these tools and ideas and content. If you've been listening and you have any tools that you use that you want to share with us, then go to tandtimbits.com and get in touch with us and listen back to some old episodes where you will find lots of other nuggets that you can comment on or get in touch with us about. And anything else that you want to say, get in touch. Anything you want to do, just stay in touch with us, listen to our future shows, and engage with us on social media, because that's what we want to do. Thank you very much, Scott.
Thanks, Andy.